Hi, Legalists. Welcome to another episode. I'm Christy Taylor. Today we are doing my favorite part of the week, which is where we roll the dice to see where we're going to land on our law bookshelf, which has been organized according to numerology. And then, of course, we're going to see where we're going to land on our charts of life, because that's very important on this channel where we are combining the law and life and getting a better understanding of how law applies to our everyday life. So let's see where we're going to land on our shelf. Alright, so we are on number 3, which is up at the top there. Okay, and now let's just see on our second roll, number 6. Okay, so if we go to our chart of life, let's just see here. Remember, we need to follow where we were from our last video, which was on entertainment. So we are going to add 6 to 11. So we are on number 17, which is mercy. Now it's time for our third throw to see on which book we're going to land. Okay, book number 5. Okay, so we are on insolvency. So today our topic is going to be insolvency and mercy. So this is definitely going to be interesting. I'm now going to go into a bit of study onto these two topics, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to play some music. If you want to skip that part, I will leave a comment in the comment section so that you can go straight to the discussion towards the end of this video. Otherwise, you're welcome to enjoy the music and see what notes I'm busy working on. Right. So that was actually a very interesting analysis between mercy and insolvency. And actually, from a very basic logical perspective, I think it makes sense. So to start off with, what I liked about today's throw of the die was that we actually found ourselves quite high up on the Leela chart. So if we have a look here, we've been playing around down here, and now suddenly we found ourselves all the way up here on number 69, which is right next to number 68, which is actually where we want to get. This is our goal on this chart, to where we want to be. So we have missed it, okay, but we found ourselves suddenly from being down here from mercy to 69. And then, of course, which I'll deal with shortly, we had to come down from inertia to earth. So what is insolvency? In a very basic summary, insolvency is an inability to pay debts. So for purposes of this video, I'm not going into the actual legal tests that are applied. What's important to know is that ultimately, if you find yourself or anyone in those kind of proceedings, that ultimately stems from an issue of being unable to pay your debts. The dilemma that I did find myself when I was doing this analysis was, who is the player in a position of insolvency that is extending mercy? Because we need to know who's moving up and down this chart, right? And of course, a debtor is asking for mercy. Is he really doing mercy? Not really, right? But to answer this question, we need to understand insolvency. And ultimately, insolvency, it's not really there to, although it helps the debtor, the purpose of insolvency is, and the main purpose, is to make sure that there is an equitable distribution of money to the creditors. So it's actually there to favor the creditors. And of course, the law does go into an order of preference and all of that. But based on that, I wouldn't say it's the creditor extending mercy. I think if they could have it their way, they would apply the agreement in full. In fact, insolvency is the only time that I'm aware of where a creditor is not entitled to apply or enforce an agreement or contract in full. Now remember, contract is a very strong aspect of law in the sense that you're bound by your word. So this is the one exception. So I wouldn't say it's the creditor extending mercy because of that. What it seems to be the position is that it's actually the law, yes, favoring the creditor in the sense of making sure that there's fairness. For instance, you don't want somebody paying off their car in full because they want to keep their car but not their personal loans. And then the other creditors are prejudiced, right? So it's like I said, it's there to benefit the creditors. But the law is also saying, okay, we see your situation, that your liabilities are exceeding your assets, and therefore we are going to allow you to rehabilitate yourself. In other words, give mercy. Okay, so I would say that on this chart, it is in combination with the law itself. It is the player who is experiencing the mercy or the debtor and who moves up here, okay? And then I'll discuss shortly why we come back down, okay? So the key takeaways with regard to mercy and insolvency is, firstly, there's a surrender. And what the debtor has to do is he has to surrender his entire estate. Okay. Now, like I said, what happens in this scenario is that the law appreciates which is also a key aspect of mercy. When you forgive someone, you can appreciate that, okay, this person, there's no more responsibility that they can take in regard of this, or you can acknowledge that they made a mistake or that you made a mistake. And then what happens is through the process of rehabilitation, there's a forgiveness, or what we refer to in section 129 of the Insolvency Act, right? We refer to a discharge of all debts of the insolvent. Okay, so those are the key takeaways from mercy. It's the surrender, it's the recognition, the appreciation that, okay, there's this contract which says you agreed to pay, but the fact is you can't pay, so we will forgive you. Okay, so I'm actually very impressed with how these two pieces fit together quite nicely. Now, the next question is, why do we come back down? Now, because remember, we're on 69, so we passed 68. We haven't finished the game. We can only finish this when we get to 68, which means we can only go this way, right? We can only go towards 72, which is ultimately going to bring us down to earth, right? Now, inertia, as the word suggests, is there's an inactivity, there's no movement. And what happens to an insolvent person who's being rehabilitated? Basically, they're restricted in their activities. So there's an inertia that brings them down. So although it seems counterintuitive that a debtor receives mercy and he's now suddenly finding himself up here, flying high, right? When insolvency, it's not necessarily a good thing, right? You haven't kept your promise to pay. You haven't managed your estate properly. It does come with a price. That is, first of all, you haven't reached the goal point, okay? But the second is that the consequences of insolvency are inertia, which ultimately brings you down. So when we say that an insolvent person has inertia or is restricted, we know that they can't enter into contracts. They can't hold certain vocations, such as being an attorney. They can't hold a certain office, for example, like being a trustee, okay, and they also can't litigate. So this sounds, in fact, like a lot of things that a minor can't do, a dependent, right? Which is why it also makes sense when looking at these two pieces of puzzle, mercy and insolvency, which takes us to inertia. It brings us back down to earth, to the mother. Because the person can no longer do these things, is effectively reduced to the status of a minor. They find themselves back in the earth mother plane. The good news is that for a player who finds himself back here in the earth plane, is that there's an opportunity to start anew, to start afresh, with the experience and the knowledge that has been gained. So all is not lost, it's never lost. Even the law, I'm not too aware what provisions, but they allow you after a certain number of years to be able to do these things again. So actually overall, I'm quite impressed with how these two pieces actually fit together. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we will definitely chat soon, and thank you for watching. Bye.